this beautiful lady.
Yes. Monica, I really want to come see you in person,
Anytime.
but I've heard amazing things from Tammy and Jamie about you and your practice. And now I need to pull up your bio because I'm not going to do it justice introducing you. So maybe it'd be better if you introduce yourself.
I'm happy to do that. No problem.
Awesome.
I do know myself rather well. So,
Awesome.
well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Monica McKiterick, and I am a family nurse practitioner for 16 years now. But I own Impact Family Wellness, and we are a direct primary care office in Cedar Park, Liberty Hill, and Thorndale. And if you don't know what direct primary care is, you're not alone. It's basically membership-based healthcare, so like a gym membership for your doctor. So we take patients with or without insurance, and we treat you like a human being instead of, doing a telehealth visit and just giving you drugs. We like actually know who you are and, treat you like a human. So yeah, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I love to travel, I'm a sports enthusiast, and yeah, and I love to help women because I am one, and especially now I'm in my 40s, and so I understand the struggles that is life as a female. So I'm very happy to be here today. So do you want me to just like go in, like just start? Let's do
Yeah,
this.
that sounds great.
Okay, awesome. So I am going to talk to you today about managing stress and your health like a pro. And so if stress burned calories, we would all be supermodels because that's what we deal with, especially as women. And so stressors can come in all different forms, from life to husbands to work to travel. I love to travel, but it's still stressful because there's just so many unknowns. And so we deal with this especially as women because we have so many roles. I don't know about you, but most of the time I think my son thinks my husband is his sibling and not his father, because his dad apparently doesn't know how to get orange juice for him or can't help him tie his shoes. Instead, he needs to ask his mom, who is currently on the phone while making dinner and putting the dishes away, because it's easier for me to do it and just walk by your dad. No, it's annoying as all get out. We also tend to be caregivers to not only our children, but our aging parents, as well as our partners. And so it just gives us such a higher emotional and mental load that we're frazzled all the time. But chronic stress is more than just feeling frazzled. It can cause serious health problems. One of those being hormones. And it is all the buzzword right now, the word hormones. It's all we do. We do it all day long in my practice, treating patients for perimenopause. But what people don't realize is that cortisol and insulin are the two biggest hormones that will affect your weight. And so a lot of people just think, oh, I'm perimenopausal, I must need estrogen, but that's not necessarily the case. Your thyroid is also a very important hormone. And so stress causes all four of those to have serious issues. Um, increased stress can also increase your risk of heart attack, diabetes, and autoimmune disorders, but it's because it's affecting those hormones. It's not because stress causes those. Stress causes your hormones to be imbalanced, which then leads to the medical issues. Weight gain, and especially mental health struggles, anxiety, depression, burnout, they're all serious problems that can be caused just by your stress. And so managing your stress is not a luxury, it's literally a life-saving skill. So there's two real forms of stress, right? So one is the good stress. This is called eustress, and that is the stress that keeps you motivated, helps you to meet deadlines, to make perform prepare for presentations, like this one that, I asked ChatGPT to help me with this morning because that's what I do, right? And so, a little stressful, but no big deal. And then there's bad stress. That is the like never ending, daunting. There's all these things hanging over you. You're drowning in your responsibilities. You're always on high alert. You finally sit down at the end of the day and you just want to like dump. That is not good stress. So there's a good analogy that stress is like spicy food, where a little bit adds some flavor, but too much is not going to be great. That's like the Thai restaurant with the level 5 that no one can actually eat. I never go over a 2. Those Asians, man, they are good at spice. And so we touched on this a little bit, like hormones, stress affects women worse simply because of the hormone fluctuations. Cortisol is directly related to estrogen fluctuations. And when your estrogen fluctuates, you get things like irregular periods and worsened PMS, and it can cause perimenopause to come on with a vengeance. And so there's this big thing in the world that menopause doesn't happen until you're 50. Well, I'm here to tell you that's a lie. Perimenopause is a 10 to 15-year period where your estrogen starts to poop out and life gets crazy. And so increasing stress only makes that worse. Can also cause thyroid issues that will slow your metabolism. Cortisol also causes fat storage in your midsection. So a lot of times we call it an estrogen tire, that like middle of the world little bulge that women tend to get, but it's not necessarily just estrogen. It's very much so related to cortisol. Just the mental load that women carry, household chores, especially those of us that are working, it just leads to burnout. I will tell you though, I think the number one worst job in the world is a stay-at-home mom, because those ladies have no time clock. They get no vacation unless they leave their kid at home, and there's no paycheck. So not ever going to be a stay-at-home mom here. Those ladies, I can't do it. But chronic stress also leads to decrease in focus and memory and energy levels. I will tell you, we've had a bigger influx of people coming into our office and claiming that they have adult onset ADHD, even though that they've completed like 3 degrees and are incredibly successful people. I'm going to tell you, it's not ADHD. It is the fact that they are completely overstressed and completely overstimulated. So just keep this in mind as we think, oh my gosh, I can't keep on task. It's likely because you're too stressed out and you have too many notifications. Try turning your phone on do not disturb. It will work. It'll make things better. So a lot of common signs of chronic stress are trouble sleeping, always being exhausted no matter how much you sleep, unexplained weight gain or loss. Typically it's gain, but sometimes it can be loss. Headaches, gut issues, muscle tension, feeling irritable, anxious, or disconnected, and also constantly feeling behind, even though you're being productive. I saw this really great meme thing on social media the other day, and it talked about how people pleasers and overachievers tend to always be in a state of I'm never enough, because they're so used to succeeding that just being mediocre is failure. And I was like, wow, that really hits home for me. And then if you think about it, like the Olympic swimmer, they don't always get first place. But if they get second place, does that mean they failed? No, they're still an Olympic swimmer, right? But we don't do that for ourselves. So now that we've talked about stress and how much it sucks and how we all have it, I'm going to check out this chat, make sure I'm not missing anything. If anybody has anything they want to say, feel free to like raise your hand or interrupt me. So, I don't need to talk the whole time, but I will, because that's what I do best. So now that we've talked about what stress is and what it can do to you, what do we do about it, right? If you could get rid of your stress, you would. We all would just make it vanish tomorrow. Well, I'm going to say this word and I need you all to write it down or mentally note it. And that word is boundaries. For those in the back that missed it, once again, that word is boundaries. I am incredibly guilty of not setting them. There's a really great book. It's called Boundaries. And if you haven't read it, you should, because it is literally life-changing. It is rather religious. It's written by some pastors, so it does have a lot of like biblical references in it. But I'm actually making my entire staff read this book right now because it's absolutely essential to life. So setting boundaries does not mean you're a jerk. It doesn't mean you aren't nice. It doesn't mean that you don't care. In fact, you care more because you have boundaries. The word no is a complete sentence. That's the only answer you have to say. You can just say no, and it's okay. By the way, I'm speaking to myself in this situation. And I've been working on this for a really long time and I'm still not good at it. But I'm going to encourage you to start setting boundaries. One of the boundaries I set for myself this year is, hold on, I got distracted. All right, I was reading Danielle's message. Sorry, I'll get back. So the boundary that I set this year is I'm a business owner. I do a ton of networking because people don't know what direct primary care is. So it's all about education. It's going out and telling other people what I do. And so there are a ton of networking meetings out there, as I'm sure all of you know, because that's a world for reality. I set a hard boundary this year that I do not do any networking after 5 p.m. It's not my time. It's not when I'm good. I am a 7 a.m.er. You want me to see somebody at 7 a.m., I am here. After 3, yep, about this time, I'm useless. Also, 5 p.m. is when I get to spend time with my family. And so I'm done giving my time to that. And what I've found is nobody misses me, right? Nobody goes to an event and is like, oh, Monica's not here. It's only the people that are there that they notice. And so you've got to stop saying yes to everything. And because if you say yes to everything, you're basically saying no to yourself. So instead of saying, I can't do something, like I can't take on another project, instead protect yourself and say, I don't overcommit because I value my time. It is okay to set boundaries. And this applies not only in your personal life, but also your business life. It is okay. All I know about real estate is that you guys do it in ridiculous hours. There's a title company that has some ridiculous tagline that says, we don't work 8 to 5, we work start to finish. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm sorry. I know you guys are really important and selling houses is super important, but there is zero reason that a title company should be working at 7 p.m. It's not life or death, let's be honest. Now, I work in healthcare, and so there are times that things are life and death, but I'm not an emergency room. And so someone else's poor planning is not my emergency. If you didn't sign the paperwork in time, that shouldn't be your emergency. And so you've really got to set those boundaries. I understand your livelihood may depend on it, and I get it. Like you want to be there for your people, but also you have to take care of yourself. Read the book Boundaries and start putting them in your life. You don't have to turn a switch and just all of a sudden you're like, nope, I do this. But you have to start somewhere. So if you get nothing else out of this entire discussion, boundaries, start today, especially with your children, because it will be helpful. Another thing to do is to reframe your stress, right? So if you're stressed out about something and you are in the mindset of, I can't handle this, then you're going to become anxious. You're going to start panicking. You're going to avoid it, right? We just walk away from it. Where if it's more of a challenge mindset where it's like, okay, I've done this before, I can do this, then you'll get more motivation and confidence. This is hard, but I'm harder to break, right? So these are the things that you need to focus on to make sure that you're attacking the stress from the right way. If it's just overwhelm, then figure out how to delegate. Key to life. Another thing we need to remember is that things don't have to be perfect. They just have to be done. Things don't have to be perfect. They just have to be done. And so I think that trying to be a perfectionist will oftentimes lead to paralysis. You just won't do anything. I find nothing more intimidating than a blank page. If I have to write something and I have to start with a blank page, it's never going to get started. Now, this is where our friend AI and ChatGPT, key to life. I'm a big fan. So try to get things done, right? So something that's 80% done is better than something that's 100% perfect, but never gets finished. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. Put it out there in the world. You don't have to get it right. You just have to get it started. So some practical strategies for how you can handle this. There's box breathing, there's lots of names for it, but it's a 4-4-4 method. So you inhale for 4, you hold for 4, you exhale for 4, you hold for 4, and you just keep repeating that. Give it 30 seconds. It's pretty amazing what can happen. Another thing you can do is cold exposure. So there's a lot about cold plunges these days. And what that does is it it kicks in your parasympathetic nervous system. It basically shuts everything down. I actually did a cold plunge and I hate being cold. My feet were literally aching because all the blood flow went directly to my organs. So your body doesn't care if your feet or your hands fall off. This is why when you get cold, it's usually your feet or your fingers. It's because you can survive without them. And it takes a lot to get blood flow out there. So your body will just shut it down and just not let blood flow go there. So not that we all have time to do cold plunges or want to, but even like holding an ice cube on the back of your neck can trigger your parasympathetic nervous system. So if you're really stressed out, try some cold water on your face or an ice cube. Another thing to do is if you're super overstressed, do a brain dump. Get out a piece of paper, type it, speak it, however that works. Write down everything that is stressing you out right now. And then once you have that list, pick one thing and go do it. You got to start somewhere. Can't attack them all at one time. Now let's talk about the health side of it. So there's three main things that you can do to focus on to manage your stress and improve your health. If you've ever heard me speak before, you know I am a huge, huge, huge proponent of sleep. My favorite are people who say, oh yeah, I only need 5 to 6 hours. It's a lie. You've convinced yourself of that. Your body, from a cellular level, no matter who you are, needs 7 to 9 hours. I know it sounds like a lot, but you've got to do it. Now, I will tell you if you're over the age of 35 and you have started waking up somewhere between 2 and 4 in the morning, and you wake up and your mind's just running and you can't stop, you likely need progesterone, which is a hormone. That's talk for another day. But if you can't sleep through the night and you're over the age of 35, you should get your progesterone level checked. And the progesterone needs to be checked on a specific day of your cycle, technically day 19 to 21. So don't ever go to a healthcare provider and be like, I want my hormones checked. And if they do not tell you what day of your cycle, as long as you're still cycling, to go get it done, they don't know what they're talking about and you need to go find a new provider because otherwise we have no idea where you actually are. But without progesterone, you will not sleep. So for the ladies in the room that aren't sleeping because of perimenopause, find out if you can get some progesterone. I've made more friends with women by putting them on progesterone than anything else. But you've got to sleep. The rule of thumb supposedly is you're supposed to cut off caffeine by 2 p.m. Yes, I have my cup of coffee right here. I do fine with it. I'm a really good sleeper. And also unplugging your screens before bed, but you've got to prioritize your sleep. I know the kid goes to bed at 8:30 and all you want to do is watch your Netflix show. I get it. Maybe one episode. I know Love is Blind was just released. I'm binging it. I understand, but you've got to prioritize your sleep. So sleep, it will help everything in your life. I promise. The second thing we can do is movement. Notice I did not say exercise. I said movement. This means a walk around the block that takes 4 minutes after dinner counts. Bending over and touching your toes, that counts. Standing up and taking the long way to the coffee machine, that counts. If you have excess cortisol from too much stress, exercise can burn it off. But I will tell you, excessive exercise can also increase your cortisol. So you have to be careful about overdoing it. If your body is really pissed off and telling you like, hey, I don't actually like this exercise, then stop doing it. We see a lot of this with long distance runners and sometimes with CrossFit. Now, some people are built for that and it's their greatness and they feel awesome afterwards. If that's not you, then don't do it. But I'm here to tell you, you need to find some form of movement that you enjoy and that you can do every day, even for just 10 minutes. You don't have to sweat, but just that body movement will help with your stress. The third thing that you can do for your own health is your nutrition. So everyone talks about what's the best diet out there. Well, I'll tell you, there is not a best diet for everyone. Everyone is different. I have patients who are on keto and they love it. I have patients who are on carnivore and they love it. I cannot do either of them. I can't do it. Does eating chocolate for 10 minutes count? Mary, I think that's a great question. I'm glad you started your progesterone, but I'm going to say eating chocolate does not count as movement for 10 minutes, but you know, maybe next time. Um, it'll also make your blood sugar kind of go all over the place. So, as far as what diet is best for you, I can't give you an answer. I will tell you eating things in moderation, 80-20 rule, typically 80% good for you, right? There's no good and bad, better for you, and then not so great for you, right? So those high glycemic exit index things, so like chocolate, sugar, highly processed things, those are going to be on the 20% side. The lean proteins, fibers, good fats for you, those are on the 80% side. So there's tons of diet information out there. Anti-inflammatory diets, Mediterranean diets, menopause diets, they're all out there. You just have to find the one that works for you. If intermittent fasting is what works for you, awesome, right? There's science to back that intermittent fasting works, but if it makes you feel terrible, then no one cares. So you've got to find what works for you. I will tell you, I'm yet to find a person that eating processed foods, especially ultra processed foods, all day, every day, makes them feel like $1,000,000. So if there's one piece of information I can give you about nutrition, it is avoiding ultra processed foods. So there's processed, right? So like flour is processed, and then there's ultra processed. And those are things that have weird gums and different genetically modified things in them. If you read the nutrition label and it's got big, crazy long words in it, it's likely ultra processed. If you are not on the outside of the grocery store, things in the middle are likely ultra processed. So avoiding those things is going to be helpful. Your blood sugar will spike when we eat things that are processed and ultra processed, and that roller coaster will also lead to a mood roller coaster and a hormone roller coaster and all the roller coasters in between. So trying to eat protein and fiber at every meal is really a good way to start. The next thing I want you to do is get a support system. So the group that's here right now can be your support system. Your neighbor can be your support system. Superwoman syndrome is a lie. We don't do it alone. We all need our tribe. And so delegating, outsourcing, accepting help without guilt, these are all things you have to do. I hired a virtual assistant this year. It was the best thing I've ever done. Was it difficult? Slightly. And if you want insight on how I found him and how I hired him, I will happily share that information. I pay him $800 a month and he works full time for me, 40 hours a week, our hours. He lives in the Philippines and I adore this guy. He's amazing. He's getting married. And I was like, I'm coming to your wedding. And his response was, okay, we'll make sure it's really fun for you. I was like, wait, it's your wedding, not mine, but okay, cool. Right? It's like make the white girl happy, I guess. I don't know. You've got to get rid of things that don't fill your cup, right? So there's things in your job that you hate. I'm sure there are. We all have them. If there's a way to delegate it, find a way to delegate it. It is worth the dollars. You've got to find help. And it's very important to find your people you go to when you're feeling overwhelmed, your friends who get it, especially in the real estate world. You guys go through such ups and downs of the world is good and then the world is not good and homes are selling and then they're not selling. I can't live in your world. I don't do it. But finding mentors who can lift you up, therapists. I'm here to tell you, therapy, it's amazing. I'm living my best life. I'm not going to lie. I have an amazing husband. My kids are great. We're all very healthy. I live in my dream house. I mean, my life is pretty awesome. And I had a ton of patients that I was like, you should go to therapy. You should go to therapy. So I was like, you know what? I think I should probably try therapy. I don't need therapy, but I should try therapy. So I went. And my first meeting with this therapist, she was like, so what are you looking for? How often do you think we need to meet? And I was like, oh, I think this is it. Like, we're just doing a one-time thing. I just want to see what it's like. And we started talking, and not 3 minutes later, I was like ugly girl sobbing because I have serious mommy issues. I had no idea. And I'm still dealing with it. And this was 2 years ago, and I still see my therapist every other week. And it is the best thing I've ever done. So if you aren't in therapy, I'm going to tell you should. If you can't afford therapy, find a girlfriend who can be your therapist. Um, Community is a huge stress reliever. Women release oxytocin when they bond with other women. And so sometimes women can be petty and it can be difficult, but find your women that understand you. I'm going to tell you someone else's success is not your failure. So we need to support one another. And just be there, find your people and do it. You also need to laugh more. Laughter has been scientifically proven to lower your cortisol and boost your mood. So if any of you need a prescription to watch a funny movie, share a joke, call your funniest friend, if you need that, you just let me know. We're here for that. So you've got to do some laughing. And so that might mean you watch the same movie 14 times. But that's what we're here for. So that's the gist. I'm going to leave you with 3 takeaways. So if you haven't been listening, now's your time. Tune back in. Give me 4 more minutes. Number 1, control what you can and let go of what you can't. Stress is inevitable, but how you respond is within your power. Focus on small, manageable changes. Maybe tonight you turn off your phone 30 minutes before you want to go to bed. Or maybe you don't take a walk outside, it's freezing. Maybe you should say that for Saturday. Maybe you set one boundary today. I struggle with boundaries a lot. And it was actually my therapist. My brother was coming to visit, and my brother is a terrible house guest, like the worst house guest. And so I was complaining to my therapist. He came at Thanksgiving and then came back after Christmas. And I was complaining to her about how awful he was. And part of it is he's just very loud. Like he cannot listen to anything at regular decibel levels. And so when he came back at Christmas with his kids, my therapist challenged me. She was like, I want you to set a boundary and I want you to set a consequence to that boundary. And so when they all got here, and part of it is I don't like to set boundaries because I feel like I'm being mean, right? But it's like, are you for real? So the boundary I set was we had a family meeting when we all got there. And I said, listen, guys, we all have to live in this house together for the next 6 days. And so the rule is if you are using any voice or any electronic is using a voice that is over an inside voice, I'm going to ask you one time to turn it down. If you then raise your voice or your electronic over inside voice level, you will be forced to go outside for 10 minutes to reset because I can't deal with that. Rain, sleet, snow, it doesn't matter. And let me tell you, they all accepted that and we had no issues the whole week. And all it took was me setting that one boundary. And I wasn't being a bitch about it. I was just asking for everybody to get along. So set a boundary. You won't be mean. Number 2, your health is not negotiable. You've got to focus on sleep, nutrition, movement. You've got to do it. Self-care is not selfish. It's necessary. Book the massage. Take a walk with your girlfriend. Do the things you need to for yourself. And if you're not sleeping, call your healthcare provider or Impact Family Wellness. They will help you and get some progesterone. Third of all, you're not alone. We are all in this together. We all do this. We all deal with it. It's all internal. So stop just hiding from it. Ask for help. It is okay. You can call me. I'm sure my email or something will be out here. You've got people that can support you, and you've got to make sure you use them. So that is what I have on stress and cortisol and all the things. So anyone have questions? What can I answer for you? I'm happy to answer healthcare issues to a point. I don't technically have consent to treat you, so you can't sue me. Did you hear that? This is being recorded. Don't sue me. Yeah. Who has questions? Somebody's got a question.
I think that's
Okay,
probably
I
most
have
of our
one.
hesitation in setting boundaries is fear of conflict and fear of being seen as a bitch. And
Absolutely.
ultimately, everybody knew the rules, and it was all said in a calm manner ahead of time.
Right. And it was because I said it beforehand, right? That the expectation was set. So my providers, I have one in particular, she will let people walk all over her. They can just use her time, they can abuse her time, and then she's the one stuck there till 6 o'clock working because her people just want to talk. And so I've challenged her. I'm like, when you come into the visit, I realize that for years you've just been allowing people to walk all over you. When they come in, be like, listen, we have 30 minutes for this visit, so let's make sure we get to the really important things, and then we can like chit chat at the end. But I have a hard stop at this time, and it's amazing that people just respect that. So I think setting boundaries before is incredibly important. It's a very good point, Amy.
I've got one. Thank you. This has been just powerful and amazing. And you are speaking our language when it comes to all of these amazing women here and finding support. I could go on for hours about that. But my question is what blood tests as an seasoned woman, I'm not going to say older, but as a seasoned woman, what blood tests should we be getting and not negotiating on? I've heard of, all of your regular baseline hormones, but isn't there, I've heard of something called a Dutch test. And what do we need to really look at and be our own fighter for getting those done?
Yeah, being an advocate for yourself
Advocate, that's the word.
Incredibly important, especially in our healthcare system these days. So typically for women, Dutch testing is it's a very highly specific test that focuses, there's many different levels of it. Not necessary, right? Like Dutch tests are also expensive. So if you can afford them and you have a provider who's really good at reading them and telling you what to do with it, then can be helpful. But oftentimes a lot of what Dutch testing focuses on cortisol. And I can check your cortisol at every minute of the day, and it's going to be different. Unfortunately, checking cortisol doesn't give us a lot of insight because the answer is almost always the same. So if your cortisol level's too high, it means you're stressed out. But if your cortisol level's too low, it means that you have adrenal fatigue and your body doesn't create cortisol anymore. It's been trying to tell you for years to chill out by giving you a lot of cortisol, but you didn't listen. And so now it's just not producing any at all. And so whether it's high or it's low, the answer is still to reduce your stress level. So Dutch testing can help if you've just really been struggling and it's like, I don't know what it is. That's not where I would start though. So to answer your question, I think estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and DHEA, those are the 4 that I test regularly in women simply because they're affordable and they give us some answers. But those 4 tests have to be checked on the right day. So if you are still cycling and you know how long your cycle is, then we need to test that on a specific day. So if you have a regular 28-day cycle, those tests should be drawn on day 19 to 21, with day 1 being your first day of bleeding. Because your estrogen, progesterone do this throughout your 28-day cycle. And so if you test it on a random day and we don't know, then what shows up as normal in this phase is completely off in this phase. And so at day 19 to 21 is where those numbers should be the highest. And so if you check them on those days and they're low, then perimenopause is probably a problem. So those 4 for sure. If someone is struggling with weight issues, then I always check an insulin level. Insulin is the first thing to change if you're going in that insulin resistance diabetes world. And also a thyroid screen, but not just a TSH level. Just a TSH level is not going to give you the answer, right? Your TSH is thyroid stimulating hormone. Your T3 and T4 are your actual thyroid hormones. So your TSH doesn't change until these 2 are off. And so you have to check all 3 of them, which is not necessarily done by all healthcare providers. You can check your cortisol level, but like I said, it's not going to change my plan, right? So if you come into me and you're like, I'm exhausted, I feel awful, my gut is messed up, you have a stress problem, right? And so we've got to figure out how to do that. So estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, insulin, TSH, T3, T4. Those are definitely a good place to start. Also, a vitamin D level. So vitamin D is actually a hormone. It is not a vitamin, and it is crucial to your immune system, weight, hormones, all the things. If you are not on a vitamin D supplement, you should be. We don't have good, I take that back. If you eat all organic and you eat really high quality food all the time, then you might be okay. But if that's not you, then you need D3 for sure, 100%. I don't know that I've seen anybody with a normal, by the way, normal vitamin D level on a lab is going to be 30 to 80. I will tell you if it's below 60, it's too low. There's normal and then there's ideal. So if your vitamin D level is below 60, you need more of it.
So how many IUs would you suggest of the D3?
So I personally recommend 50,000 international units once a week, or 8 to 10,000 international units every day. So the 50,000 units, I believe, is only by prescription, or you have to order it through, like we order it through a vitamin company. But if you want to get it over the counter, typically the over the counter little tablets are 2,000 international units. Taking 4 to 5 of those a day is what I typically recommend. Once again, don't sue me.
Fantastic. Well, I gave you permission in my comments.
I like it. Like it.
Thank you.
And
What was that, Monica?
No, it's me. It's Dawn.
Yes.
Monica was trying to finish saying something.
Yeah.
No, it was fine. Emily had asked, where do you get progesterone? It is a prescription. Sorry. It has to be written by prescription. And it comes in a pill form or a cream form. Don't do the cream. It will not help you sleep. Go for the pill.
Yes. What you got?
So, I know that you have an office, but a lot of these ladies are like all over the place. Do you do anything online? Like, do you have a test where you can offer us something where we can do it via,
Yes. So we can see any patient via telehealth that has a Texas address. So if you are outside of the state of Texas, I cannot help you. But there are offices like mine all across the country. They are not as good as us, I promise. I'm just kidding. They probably are. But if you Google direct primary care near me, it will come up with other offices that are similar to mine. The big difference between direct primary care and your regular insurance-based system is that you get to be the actual paying customer, not your insurance company. And so they can do things that your insurance won't agree with, like ordering an insulin level. There's no insurance company out there that will cover an insulin level unless you are diabetic by your A1C and your C-peptide level is low, which means you're a type 1 diabetic. Then they will approve an insulin level. And if you run that through an insurance company, it's going to run you about $180 on average. At our office, it's a cash pay price of $5. And so when you take that middleman out of it, right? So like a full thyroid panel at my office is $12. A full hormone panel is $27. When we tell the insurance company that we don't care what they approve or not, and you and I get to make a decision about what you need or what you don't need, we can just take that middleman out and make things much cheaper. So if you're in the state of Texas, we're happy to help you. We can do obviously telehealth things. If you have, we order our labs through LabCorp. So as long as there's a LabCorp close to you, you can use our client-based prices. If you're outside of the state of Texas, we legally cannot treat you. Don't ask me why. It's a money thing, let's be honest. But there are other offices like ours around.
I love that. Thank you. Zavine.
Hi, thank you for all the information. I think you might have just answered the question. I was wondering, like, if we should go to our primary care or if we should go to our OBGYN if you have multiple symptoms going on. So you can't just say stress or you can't just say it's hormones. What if you think if it's a mix of different things?
Sure.
Who do I go to? And what do I ask for?
The answer is you go to the one that's going to listen to you, if that helps. Unfortunately, hormone treatment in this country is very behind. When I went through school 16 years ago, I know it was a long time ago, We were not taught hormone treatment because we only put women on hormones literally if they were like getting divorced. And it was because of the risk of them. So oral estrogen is very linked to increased risk of breast and uterine cancer, which is why I don't ever prescribe oral estrogen anymore. We have patches and creams and all sorts of other options that are much safer. So you need to make sure that you find a healthcare provider who is up to date on hormone treatment. Like I'm closing down my office for 2 days in March and sending my entire staff to hormone training because it's that important. So your primary care provider can absolutely order those labs for you. Whether they know how to interpret them is another question. So finding the one that you have the best relationship with and the one that will listen to you and is willing to order them and talk to you about them and knows what to do is really the key.
Alyssa.
Hi. I think the wildest thing is that almost everyone in this room feels like something's wrong with them. And that is so sad. Really quickly, I had a question because I have felt a lot of these things over the last like 6 months, and I just turned 35. I'm a very healthy person. I pretty much eat all organic and do all the things. I work out daily. But all the women in my family have Hashimoto's. For years, I have done thyroid testing, tons of different types of blood panels. Everything always comes back normal. I had some pretty wild hormones at one point, and just basically the answer is that I have to be on the pill for the rest of my life. So as someone who skips their periods because I'm always on the pill, like I don't even have a period week at all, when would you recommend going to try another testing round with a provider? Because I've done a lot of them and I have zero answers.
So I tell my women that they have to come off the pill for at least 3 months before you test your hormones.
Oh no, no one wants to see me like that.
Yeah. So, if you are a crazy person off of your oral birth control, then we're not going to tell you to come off of it anyway, which means we're not going to put you on other ones. But when it comes to your thyroid, have they tested an APO test? Antibodies?
That I'm not exactly sure of. I'd have to like go back and look through my records.
So Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disorder where your body is attacking your own thyroid. And the number one test to test for that is a thyroid antibody test called an APO test. So see if they tested that. If that level is high, now here's the deal. If that level is high, it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to throw you on thyroid medicine. But if you're having the symptoms of hypo or hyperthyroidism, then it may be worth either a thyroid supplement or a low dose of thyroid medicine. Here's the deal. Normal lab rates are typically based off of 39-year-old men. That is where most of that data has come from. And so we just apply normal labs to the entire world, but that may not be your normal. So you have to make sure that you have a healthcare provider who's not just treating your numbers. If treating lab work was all that was involved in healthcare, then why do I need a license to do it? Right? There's so much more. There's symptoms associated with it. And then there's risk and benefit of trying treatment for it, right? So I will tell you, if you check your hormones while you're on oral birth control, they're going to be off. Your testosterone might be okay. But unfortunately, oral birth control makes your body think you're pregnant. And so that's why you don't ovulate, and that's how it works. And so those levels are going to be off because of the hormone in your pill. So you could test them, but I don't know that it's going to give you much of an answer. But I would make sure that they check that anti-TPO test.
I just don't know where to find a unicorn provider like yourself, because I have to just do all this self-research, and I have like a crazy supplement stack and it could be all wrong. I have no idea.
Yeah. Where do you live, Alyssa?
I live just outside of Los Angeles.
Okay. Let me do a little research for you.
Okay.
Somebody send me Alyssa's info, and I will, let me see what I can find for you.
Alyssa, put your contact info there in the chat direct
I
to
will.
Monica.
Perfect.
Hey, Monica, again, this is amazing. We've got a few other questions in here that I would love
Sure.
to help our ladies with. You had mentioned finding other providers. There was a website direct. What was that address again?
So if you look at DPC, Direct Primary Care, DPC Mapper, that will pull up a map of the entire United States and tell you where all the offices are that are like mine across the country.
Is it dpcmapper.com or just DC Mapper?
I
We
think
can Google it. We'll find it.
changed it. So if you just put DPC Mapper into Google, it will pull it up. It's through DPC Frontier is who runs it. I can put the link in.
You're amazing. And over-the-counter vitamin D that you recommend, Emily says TikTok raves about Mary Ruth's.
So there are a ton of supplement manufacturers out there. I personally use Orthomolecular and Pure. Those are my two go-tos most of the time. Not that that one's bad by any means. Unfortunately, when vitamins are not regulated by the FDA. And so we really don't know what is in those pills. We're going off of whatever the manufacturer says is in it. So it could have all the vitamin D in it, or it could have none in it. You honestly don't know. And so finding a reputable source, I'm not familiar with that one. But if they're advertising on TikTok, I'm going to tell you they're probably not that reputable. I would, so fullscripts.com is a really great website that has all sorts of different supplements on it. I have an account through Fullscripts, so if you ever want to order something through, I can give you all my affiliate link.
Wow.
Because it has to come through a healthcare provider in order to do that. Why, I don't know, but they have Pure and they have Orthomolecular, they have all these like great brands on it. And they of course tell us we're supposed to mark it up 35%, but I refuse to do that because I'm not selling supplements for a life. So I'm happy to get you guys that link. And you guys can go on there and shop all the supplements you want, whatever you want, they'll ship them directly to your house. But yeah, I would say just be careful about vitamins on any form of social media. Because if they're trying to sell them on there, then it may not be the best. Now, if it's not an affiliate, it's just some like person who's like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite thing ever, then maybe. But if they're having to sell it on social media, then I would be hesitant.
And it's D3 that we're looking for, is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It looks like
while I'm looking for other questions, Jen, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just curious, what do you think about testosterone cream?
So I think testosterone has its time and place. So I'm currently dealing with a testosterone issue myself, because I have been really stressed out for a few years. And so I'm trying to deal with it naturally, but it's not gonna, yeah. So I have used testosterone cream personally. Testosterone cream can be difficult though, because testosterone is a very large molecule. So you have to really rub it in. Like it is, I mean, you have to rub it for a solid 2 minutes, which doesn't sound like that long, but if you are like, just count it next time. So if you're going to put it on like your thigh or your arm, then you have to rub it in for a really long time. And you also have to keep those places covered for a little while, because if you're around a man who touches those or a child, it will transfer to them. My favorite place for testosterone cream is vaginal. And it's because the skin in your vaginal canal is so much more porous that it accepts the testosterone much better. But that being said, you also have to plan it around sex, because if you put testosterone cream in and then have penetrative sex with a man, he is going to absorb all of that equally as well into his very porous skin, and that's not going to go well for you. So you do have to wait about 6 to 8 hours between the time you put the cream in and having sexual intercourse with a man. But it is the easiest way to get it to absorb. There is a lot more research coming out about subcutaneous and intramuscular injectable testosterone for women, but it is in little tiny doses, like 0.1 milligrams a week. I also did that for a little while, but I found that it was made, the testosterone was in grapeseed oil, and I don't know if my body just didn't like it. It like got really irritated where I did, like it was really itchy. So I stopped that because I couldn't deal with it. So I do think testosterone cream is a great option. In fact, I'm going on Friday to repeat my testosterone level. And if it's still in the crapper, then I've got to do something. And so testosterone cream is the way I will go.
Okay.
Love that. My body did not like an influx of testosterone, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I tried it once and I got really, really angry.
Yes.
I didn't want to be at my job, and I'm my own boss. Like I had a student at the time and she was eating celery. I almost punched her. Like I almost punched her. It was rough. So just be careful. Like a lot of times we think, oh, I'm fatigued and I have weight gain because it's a lack of testosterone, or I have a low libido because of a lack of testosterone. There's a lot of other reasons you have a low libido, my friend. So just be careful that you don't go too high too fast.
Awesome. Candace, you've got your hand up. And we've got about 5 minutes left, and you have been amazing, Monica. Thank you.
I'm here for all the questions.
Candace, what you got?
Yes, I was wondering if you're under the age of 35 and you're having trouble sleeping through the night. I can't remember, probably since maybe I was an adolescent, the last time I slept through the middle of the night. I have been to therapy for, other things that might contribute to that. And I think it also may cause me to get like kind of fatigued throughout the day and things
Yeah.
like that. I also have, I'm not sure if you ever heard of the itis, where after you eat, you feel sluggish after
Yep.
that sometimes during the day. So I just didn't know what ways to combat that without caffeine. I'm not even really sure if caffeine truly helps. I do take vitamin D on and off. I do know that I was told that I probably ain't never drank no milk in my life. That is false. But when I did get my vitamin D checked, it was very, very, very low. So
Yeah.
any tips for someone going through that?
So first of all, take your vitamin D. Second, I mean, if you're not sleeping through the night, then there's nothing you can do about that fatigue except for try to sleep. Have you tried melatonin or valerian root?
I'm not familiar with valerian root. I'm not exactly sure what percentage of melatonin I'm supposed to take and or what time I'm supposed to take it for it to kick in at the
Sure.
time that I need it to.
Yes. So melatonin is something your body naturally makes, but it sounds like maybe you haven't been making it for a very long time. And so melatonin, take it 30 minutes before you go to bed, and that will help you fall asleep. Valerian root is a natural root that helps you stay asleep. And so the two in combination can be very helpful. Magnesium is also really helpful with sleep. And so those are my three natural go-tos when someone can't sleep. It's not a progesterone issue, because if you've had this issue since you've been a child, I mean, do you still have normal cycles?
I've been on birth control since I was a child as well. And then I've taken some breaks within like the last year, but I'm back on. But honestly, I mean, this is more probably for a therapist or something. But I even my dreams and stuff are not necessarily like the best. I just have a problem sleeping through the night, and I can't remember the last time I actually slept well through the night or have a positive, happy type of dream or experience. Either I don't dream at all or it's like not a good dream.
Yeah, I would
So,
try those three like natural options. And then if it's an option to come off your birth control and check your hormones, then I would also suggest that.
okay.
Got oops, sorry.
I'm so sorry. With the melatonin and the valerian root and the magnesium, do you have a suggestion for the, I don't know the proper term, but for like the amount I need to?
Yeah, so follow the instructions on the bottle. So Most
Not the quantity, but like, you know how sometimes melatonin comes in 3, 5, 10,
Yes.
like,
So 10 is the max that we typically suggest. So you always want to use the lowest, most effective dose, right? So start with 1. If that doesn't work, go to 3. If that doesn't work, go to 5. If that doesn't work, go to 10. So
okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. I will also tell you, I am not convinced that in 15 or 20 years, there's going to be a big study come out about how oral birth control ruined our generation, right? From Gen Ys to millennials, even into Gen Zs. Like, we just throw oral birth control at everyone for anything. And I'm not convinced it's the answer. So I mean, I had an IUD for 20 years. I literally just took it out. And yeah, I think it's jacked me up. So just be careful.
All right, I've got a couple more, but we're running out of time. Sabrina, I've got inflammation in my knees and fingers. What can I do along the lines? If there's a supplement, or should I have a test to see if its vitamin mineral levels are low?
So I would start with a CRP test, or a sed rate test. Those are inflammatory markers in your blood to see if they're high. If they are, then it could be an autoimmune disorder. So you would want to check like an ANA screen. If those have all been done, then decreasing processed carbs in your life, processed foods, eating more of an anti-inflammatory diet can help. And then there is a great supplement called Inflammatone. I believe it's an orthomolecular product, but I'm not exactly sure. It's called Inflammatone, and it's like a natural anti-inflammatory. So I would try that.
Oh, wow. All right. And last one, collagen and peptides. Those are such a big thing right now. Everybody's pushing and collagen this and collagen that. And what would you
Yeah.
suggest?
If it makes you feel better, go for it. And this is part of the struggle of these over-the-counter things, is they aren't studied by outside sources. They're studied by the person that makes them, right? Coca-Cola can create a study that says Coca-Cola is good for you. You just have to put the right parameters in place, right? And so like I tried collagen for a really long time and it didn't do much for me. And so I stopped using it, right? I use a hair vitamin, which is called Codager. It's like Nutrafol on crack, but much cheaper. Highly recommend it. So if you're
What's it called?
called Codager, Codege. It's Codager hair vitamins. It's on Full Scripts. It's amazing. It's like half the cost of Nutrafol,
Oh my gosh, thank you.
and it makes my hair
Yeah.
like
Can we order it?
yeah, we carry in my office too. So if you need it, let me know. But to be honest, I'm not an expert in the world of collagen and peptides just because it's not my world. We don't push them, we don't prescribe them. So if you find one that you're like, oh yeah, this helps me, this makes me feel better, then go for it. And if it doesn't, then stop taking it. I would get something maybe 2 months. And if you don't notice a difference, it's not doing enough. It's probably just giving you expensive urine.
Okay. What is that site for your supplements?
You know what? Let me just put it in the chat.
And I think I'm going to cut questions off because we could sit here for hours. I have a feeling. So this has been so informational. And does anybody have anything to add? Thank yous and anything for Monica?
Thank you, thank you. Could you tell us a quick cold remedy though? Anything natural or anything you would use for
Oh,
cold season?
Yeah, zinc, vitamin C, and glutathione are all really great options. Emergency has most of those in them. If you get the flu, I'm gonna butcher this name. It's like oxalium. They're little things that go under your tongue, can really help with that. But yeah, it's anything that makes you feel better, honestly. Like ibuprofen, Tylenol, Sudafed, Mucinex, all the things. But making sure your immune system is top of the line, and vitamin D is a huge component to that. So make sure you are all over it. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
So Monica put that link in the chat, so go grab that before we leave the meeting or it disappears. But thank you, Jess. Thank you for finding this amazing woman to come and speak to us today. This has been, I can't say it enough, just very impactful, very needed, and having a necessary conversation about this and in a non-judgmental way. I mean, like I think it was Alyssa said that, you know, we're all going through it. So we've got to be comfortable in our skin to be able to say, hey, I need some help. And so Monica, thank you for being that step for us today. And Jess, thank you for finding her. Dawn, thank you for putting this together as well. We will have a video. Monica, are you okay with us sharing our video?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
And I put my email in the chat as well. So if you have a direct question, please let me know. And Alyssa, please send me an email so I can see if I can find you a good provider out there.
I just saw it. Monica at impactfamilywellness.com.
Yep, that'll get me.
Thank you. And thanks to Jamie for setting this up and introducing me, and Tammy Morrow, shout out.
Oh gosh, thanks ladies.
Yeah, you've changed their lives and you have such a great reputation. Were your photos done by Felicia Reed? I think she also gave you a big shout out.
Absolutely.
We love Felicia so much. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, Monica.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
This was
All
amazing.
right, ladies. Have an amazing, wonderful rest of your day and week, and we will see you. Dawn, where are you? Are you still in here? She had to jet. We have our Wind Down Wednesday coming up. When is it? The third Wednesday? No. Second Wednesday. Sorry, guys. My brain is out of it. So the second Wednesday of every month, we have our Wind Down Wednesday, 5 p.m. Central here on this link. Monica, if you want to join us, come on, girl.
That's mine. I'm in. That's how I feel.
Right? So, all right, ladies, have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you for coming.
Bye, ladies.
Thanks, Monica.
Bye.